y'all, I'm Hope here at Crafty Hope. Welcome. It is day 56 of the 100-day project and my hashtag not precious project, in which I am working with a variety of objects that for some reason or other I have deemed as too precious. Now I will admit that a lot of things in my stash I basically am like, oh my gosh, I can't use that, it's too precious. Today I gathered a new assortment of things because I was down to my last two things, which was this piece, I think, from a camera and this luggage lock and key. And I've been going back and forth about it and kind of realizing that just because I have it and it's precious doesn't mean I'm ready to work with it, that I need to work with it. Because if the inspiration is not there, and just because I have all these things because I see the potential in them, but I'm not inspired by some of them yet. So these I'm going to go ahead and keep in here, but I gathered a bunch of other stuff. This is a receipt book, I believe. This one's marked to 1916, y'all. How crazy is that? But this is still got plenty of items in it. So I've got that. I've got an old autograph book and a workman's time book from the 1920s. Some other papers. I have to say that all of these things actually came from the same stash that I've had it for so long. It really has become too precious. There's Tim Holtz domes, some rusty things that are like, I'm trying to see, I've got this gauge that I found in a bucket of rusty things on the side of the road. This is a Cerno can that's been out in my yard. This is a mold from Finnabair that I started painting and felt like it was too precious or not right or something. And some old scissors. These are just colored tacks. Just all kinds of, there's a uh-oh, I just lost some of its wings. That's a shame because that's what I was going to use today. I guess I will have to rethink that. So I may just have to use the wings in some way. That's okay. Anyway, lots of different things. These are just some old scissors that are like rusty and barely closed. So I have lots of things. I think I'm going to start with this. Basically, this is one of the Tim Holtz vignette boxes. It basically will fit over this. And I was, like I said, I was thinking of somehow putting this behind it in the box. But now that's lost a few wings, I may have to come up with a new plan. So, yeah. But I'm going to alter this at least for now and put these other things aside. I may use one of these papers or two of these papers in the back of this somehow. Yeah. I think it's super cool. So I'm gonna get started on that. Day 56. Let me stop talking. Let's do something. Once I put all of those not precious items away, I started right in on adding black gesso to this mold. To this molded resin piece. It's popped out of a mold. The mold is from the Finnabair collection, locks and keys. And I also, the resin that I used is Amazing Cast or something like that, is a super fast acting resin. So it makes it a lot easier to use. But that, no matter of that, if you just have a mold and some resin and do it, just come back and paint it. Now I am starting with the black because I knew I already started putting black on it for one thing, and so that'll give it even coverage. But secondly, since I know I want to put the gold on it, metallics tend to show up a lot better on a black surface for some reason. So I've put that aside to dry, and I've come back with one of those handwritten letters. This is just I don't even know how old that page is. So I went and took it to my guillotine cutter and cut it down to the right size, at least width-wise, and just so happens the fold there is about exactly where I need it to be. So that fits kind of perfectly right in there. So I am going to ink the edges since I'm not altering the box itself. Inking up the edges kind of allows the paper to flow from that dark wood into the white of the paper, the cream of the paper. I am using Distress ink to do this in Walnut Stain. And it is my favorite, y'all. If I'm using a brown ink, it's more than likely Walnut Stain. And Black Soot if it's a black one. So, and I'm using that is some kind of, it's a cosmetic tool from the Dollar Tree that, yeah, you can buy expensive crafty ones, but yeah, that's just a Dollar Tree one. And I thought about that for a while, and I'm going to look at it in FUTS, and I happened to pull out this spool of thread, which might have been in that precious stash. I don't know. I've got a huge stash of thread spools. So, and I had this picture of this guy that seemed to be about the right size for this, like the shape of that frame. And I think that photo was also damaged in an area, so I don't have as much guilt in cutting it down, I don't think. So, and I really just wanted his eyes, so I cut straight across, you saw, right below them, and then just kind of trimmed it down so it would fit better inside my frame. And I'm playing with this for a while and decide, okay, let's go ahead and just fussy cut around his ear and his hair, so I'm not worrying about those. I don't care for the sharp corners, the sharp edges of this anyway. So I'm going to fussy cut that real quick and probably go ahead and ink the edges of him here in just a minute. I did watch this when I reviewed the video as I was editing it down for y'all. But when I work, I do a lot of this, like auditioning, kind of looking at things and deciding where it needs to be. And I had this idea, since I do have that the top keyhole portion of that frame is kind of round, that I wanted like a starburst or a sunburst kind of behind him. That's been my jam lately, y'all. I don't know what it is, but I kind of want to put it on everything, eyes and sunbursts, and I'm not mad at it. So it gives me a direction at least, and it's kind of what's going on with me right now in my style. So yeah, that's whatever. Now this one is not, it's not going to be great. I didn't get some of the angles right, but it's okay. It's art. It's my art. It's from my hand. It doesn't matter. I am using the Modern Masters Olympic Gold paint and a flat brush to do this. And yeah, just drawing it straight out from this. And once I get this painted and done, I'm going to leave everything there to dry and come back on day 57. So we're going to get to that here in just a second. So it's day 57. You can see I've kind of left these things here on my desk. I may finish this today. We're going to see. We are on vacation right now, which is a staycation, but you know, we kind of want to do other things. So I'm going to do a little bit of what I can. And, you know, if I don't finish it, I don't. But I want to, I don't know, one of these sunburst I've got on here isn't as dark as the others, but I don't know, I kind of want to leave it, but I kind of want to not, I don't know. I do want to accent them lightly. Yeah, I'm thinking maybe some, what do you call it? It's the all, maybe go ahead and get that glued in. I want to bulk him up a little so that I can get him on this spool here somehow, and maybe, yeah, and then of course alter this to have some more fun to it. Definitely some gold, but I don't know, maybe something else. We'll see. I may keep it neutral. So let me get to it. I did indeed pull out that Stabilo all in black. I wanted those gold starburst, sunburst, whatever I said it was, to pop a little bit more. So I'm going on either side of these gold lines that I made. And like I said, one of those wasn't as dark as the others, but again, I feel like that gives it more of that handmade, artist made feel to it, that it's not exact and perfect, because I'm not a perfect artist or a perfect person. None of us are. So, yeah. So, that one too, I think is the one that makes me feel a little wacky, because it's also straight up and down. Like the angle of that one is just not right. And that's probably why that one's not quite as dark as the rest. Is when I did it, I was probably like, oh no, this is wrong. While I did it, and didn't put as much pressure on it as I did with the rest of them. So you can see I took a fairly thin, well, I say fairly thin, a super thin wet paintbrush just to activate that Stabilo. And once I went, y'all, I was not happy with it. Like, there was too much of the black showing. So you can see I'm like using a lot more water here to try to dilute that Stabilo, because what I really want to show is that gold, not the black. So I don't know what I was thinking. I probably should have used maybe like a graphite pencil or something like that that's a little bit lighter. So once I wet that all down, I am going to blot up some of the water and try to blend out a little bit more of that Stabilo. And then, oh, here we go. I am now inking the edges of that photo. So this is more of that distress ink and walnut stain. And what this does is kind of makes those cut edges disappear a little bit. So the white of the cut edges aren't showing up. All right. And y'all, this, I don't know what it was about. I really like I love eyes picking up over things. There's something about it that just like gets me, that because the eyes are kind of, they say, the windows to the soul, but it's it's how you read people, it's their expressions. You hear people talk about how somebody smiled with their eyes, and that's how you know it was a real smile. So I think there's something about that. I've gotten very big into making sure I directly look people in the eye when I'm talking to them. I've never been really super good with that, and I've really been working on it. So to adhere the eyes from that old photo to my spool there, you can see I pulled out a toothpick, and I'm trying to get the toothpick onto there with the Fabri-Tac. And I like the Fabri-Tac because it gives me just a little bit of working time, but it cures super quickly. So I also knew I wanted to stabilize that picture so that it's not just a floppy picture. And I decided what would really work is a little bit of some corrugated cardboard. So I peeled off one side of it so I could fit the cardboard over the toothpick, so that the toothpick fits inside the corrugation like one of those little dips. Does that make sense? And again, I'm going to use the Fabri-Tac so that I have a fairly secure and quick bond. And I'm going to hold that. What's cool with the Fabri-Tac, I'll tell you, one of the things I found, that as it cures, it gets cold, y'all. It's weird. And when it's no longer cold, you kind of know that it's done. And I did trim off a little bit of that toothpick because it was kind of long for the height of my spool. Yeah. That's a spool. It's a thread spool. And I'm going to futz with it, of course, some more and think about it. Trying to decide if I like how he's sitting in there and how I want to attach all of that together. So I'm just, again, grabbing the Fabri-Tac and really soaking that toothpick with the Fabri-Tac, and I'm going to put it inside my spool and hold it there for a bit, kind of letting gravity, well, I say I let gravity, it sticks pretty quickly. So while that is curing, I am going to go ahead and I think I'm going to go ahead and stick in my paper. Now you can see I have worked with this paper the whole time just outside of the box. Once I put it in the box, it feels a little bit more permanent, so I didn't want to put it in there until I was sure that's what I wanted, because it'd be a whole lot harder to take it out than waiting to put it in. So that was my plan. To put it in, I am using some fluid matte medium. This is Liquitex fluid matte medium, and I'm going to make as even a coat as I can around the back of that vignette box, and then go over the top of it to help flatten everything down. I think I do get maybe not a bubble, but a crease in there a little bit. And I'll probably grab like a key card or something to help flatten it out. Maybe. Oh, well, that's what I think I would do, but I guess I didn't. So while that is drying, I'm going to turn back to that keyframe and pick out a few things that I want to try. This is some Finnabair Opal Magic. I think it's like a turquoise hue is what it's called. I'm also going to, what I'm going to start with is more of that Modern Masters Olympic Gold paint and a dry brush. So I've got a brush. I am wetting it just a little bit, getting it slightly damp, and dipping it into my paint. And then you can see I'm taking off a whole lot of that paint because I don't want it super wet. I'm not trying to paint this frame. What I want to do is pick up the detail of it by dry brushing over it. And I'm going to go over this whole entire thing. I think I sped this up quite a bit for y'all. I thought I did. Because it really is just the same thing of trying to do it. Now, I don't know that I did it here, but I do recommend when you're doing this dry brush technique to maybe move your frame around, your substrate, whatever it is you're dry brushing on, to kind of get into some of the other cracks and crevices, because if you do it all from one direction, then you're only going to get the paint on those sides. Does that make sense? So I am, like you can see, moving my hand there a little bit, but I really should also be moving that frame. Part of the way I am working though is I'm trying to keep my wrist on the dry area as opposed to the wet areas, because I will definitely drag my wrist through it. But there, I did turn it, and so you can see I am going back over a couple areas now that I've turned it upside down. Yeah, so dry brushing, it's the key really to picking up a lot of texture and something that you've molded, at least the way I found. If you know of some other ways to pick up texture, please. I mean, I'll do something else here in a minute, but I would love any tips or techniques you might know that I am unaware of for picking stuff like this up. So I'm going to clean my brush, and I really do love that, but I was like, let me try something else with this. So, oh, apparently I missed something. Yep, got to come back in. Of course I'm going to miss something, y'all. I didn't get the edges. Duh. This is going to be on this box, and so it's definitely going to be viewed from the side. Because it is a hanging box, it's not going to be able to sit because of the way the frame fits on the box. And in fact, it is currently hanging up at my booth space at Hello Gallery in downtown Fairhope. So if you are interested in this product, you can go down there and get it. You could also call the gallery. So I'll try to remember to include a link to I think you can find their phone number and everything on the Facebook page. So I'll try to put a link to that and their Instagram below. But that's where a lot of these 100-day projects have wound up, is in the booth there, because yeah, I've really liked. In fact, some of them have already sold, so I believe this one's still up there. All right, so you can see I'm getting all the edges, including the inside ones, because somehow I didn't get that. Those are getting a little more coverage too, because they don't have the texture that the front does. So, and you can see I'm getting inside some of the little cracks and crevices and all of that. The black is that gesso was just a primer and kind of gives you a base for it, so it has that bit of shadow. All right, from there, I have this Opal Magic, which is a wax from Finnabair. I believe you can still get this. It's just sold in tubes now instead of these little tins. And I'm not sure why that is. I'm pretty sure that's how you can find it, the newer ones anyway. So I'm using my finger to go over all of the raised edges with this, and y'all, it's gonna be okay. It doesn't, you can kind of see it making a difference, but it really doesn't. That gold paint really is what's still shining through. I think if I had put this straight on the black, maybe it would have a neat iridescent, but there's not really much to it on it with the gold. So it's definitely something I want to play with some more. If you've used the Opal Magic before, again, let me know. Let me know. So instead, I'm turning to my trusty Rub and Buff. I do love it. And I'm going to put it on the same way I did the Opal Magic, which is putting just a tiny bit on my finger and rubbing on top of those raised edges. Now, I'm trying to see, that looks like it's the gold leaf. I've got 2 golds in this package, and I tend to use just the golds. There's a gold leaf and an antique gold. And I seem to always turn to the golds. I don't even know if I've used the silver one yet. I should definitely make that a goal before it dries up and goes bad. I think I have used the black a little. Okay, so I am lightly rubbing over some of these fun areas. And you can really start to see this frame pop, y'all. I think the story goes that Finnabair found a photo album that had this frame on it. I could be wrong, but y'all look at this frame. It is a keyhole shape with a keyhole at the top and those 2 big keys on the side. When I saw this frame, I knew I had to have that mold. That was a Christmas present, so I love it. Now, since it is called Rub and Buff, I am buffing it a little to bring out some of the shine, and I am super happy with that. So, what am I doing now? I think that is more of my matte gel medium. Not gel. That is my fluid matte medium, and I'm going back over the top of that paper I put in there. I'm trying to flatten out some of the creases that are in there, and I think those are the creases that were in the paper to begin with, and so they kind of, that's where they live. That's their home. So it didn't work great, but now at least I know that paper is very well sealed and that ink isn't going anywhere. So I wanted to add a little bit of something to the front of that thread spool. And so what I'm going to add is a button. So I took a little bit of the actual thread off the spool so it would just kind of blend into it. And you can see this is just a very little bit of thread, and I'm going to tie a knot or 2 at the end of it if I can. And then pick out a button. I believe I have got some, let's see, I believe it's going to be a mother of pearl button, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, that's a little jar of mother of pearl buttons. They are my favorite, and something like a lot of this other stuff that I have held too precious. So I'm going to play around looking at through buttons, trying to decide what works best. And I decide on this one, but it's still got thread in it, so I'm going to take a second to snip that out. Just because since I wanted to sew it, there wasn't enough room for me to sew it on there. And you can see I'm kind of working from it. I'm sewing thread onto thread, y'all, and it's just a matter of getting enough layers between the thread and the button, so sewing into that thread. It's not a fabric, it's a little squiggly. So I'm going to keep doing this. You can see I'm going around the button, making sure that it is going to be nice and sturdy on there as well. So I thought this was a fun little accent. I think this is kind of, I don't know, this whole little assemblage has the feeling of like maybe he's a tailor. And, you know, being in the tailor shop, he hears people talk and he knows your secrets, and that's through the keyhole or something. You know, what kind of story do you get from this? For me, it's just a story about old things, and I don't know. And see here, this is where I was trying to bring that tailor motif in there. I've got the needles still in there, and I thought, oh, well, maybe I'll just leave this needle and frame that up. And it just wasn't feeling right. The no words, y'all. The needle is silver and just didn't seem to quite go with that gold frame. And I don't know, there's even a bit of that kind of aged thread, even has like I can't say it's gold, but it's like yellowed just a little bit, so it feels a bit more like gold than that did. So you can see, I don't know that I got a knot in there. I just kind of kept going till that felt nice and tight, and just trimmed it off. So from there, I realized that if I set that spool down where I'm going to put the frame, then parts of that are hidden and it doesn't sit exactly where I wanted it to sit. So I've pulled out some, what is this called? Foam core, like foam board. Is that what it's called? And I've got a couple pieces of it, and I'm testing out if one layer will work, or do I need two. So I'm going to go ahead and glue 2 layers together using, again, that Fabri-Tac. Also, I think some E6000 would work if I'd had the patience for it. And hot glue would be even better, but I didn't have the patience for heating it up. It takes forever to heat a heat gun, a hot glue gun up. I'm not one of those crafters that keeps one going all the time because I don't have need for it all the time. So I am, once it feels a little bit secure, I'm going to go ahead and I think I'm going to paint gesso on it because I don't want any of that white peeking through. I felt like that there's nothing about this assemblage that has like a bright white like that foam core is. So, and I'm just painting, oh, maybe, did I paint? Okay, I was about to say, I probably shouldn't paint the bottom of it. If you've seen some of my other assemblage videos, you know I don't like to have too many barriers between the two surfaces other than glue. So I don't want a gesso or a paper or anything like that. I'd prefer it just be surface to surface. All right, so I am desperately trying to glue that. I don't know why I kept this in here. That is too funny that I just chased that all over my desk. Perhaps I am going to create a surface between it. So I've got another piece of that handwritten letter, just a scrap that I apparently cut off, and I'm going to wrap it around that foam core. Oh, yeah, see, I'm not going all the way. So I will have part of that surface there. Okay, I was like, I didn't paint it. Why am I wrapping it? Yo, I'm so sorry. Again, this is day 56 and 57 of the 100-day project, and that was months ago. So I'm sorry I'm so far behind on these, but as soon as, I started off behind getting these videos to you, it does give me some content and y'all are getting to see it, but I'm sorry that it's not like relevant and fresh and new. These are things that I did a while ago, and I hate that I can't remember exactly what my thought process was for every single thing. But that's part of the reason I kept the introductions at the start of these, is because in those cases I kind of was able to say what it is that I was thinking of doing. So that's why that was there. So you can see I used that scrap of paper and my fluid matte medium, wrapped it around, and I'm sealing that paper. So and y'all, that fits perfect. Look, I'm so happy because that was a scrap from the long piece that I had cut off, so it was already exactly the right width. How about that? I've got some wood glue there that I'm going to use, and I'm putting it on a scrap of some kind of paper because I have found it's a lot easier sometimes to pick up the glue from a scrap or something like that. And I'm using, this is a glue spreader tool. I believe it's made by Tite Bond. I have a tough time finding it on Amazon, but I've seen it pretty much any like hardware stores where you can buy Tite Bond glue. So it's great for the wood glue because those little silicone brush tips you can pull the glue out of when it dries. And I use that, you saw, to glue down my little riser there. And I'm thinking, y'all, tapping fingers, thinking, I don't know why I'm zoomed out so far. My battery must have died or something. And I somehow got zoomed way on out of there. I am using E6000 to glue my spool to my little riser. And I am having to glue, of course, to the paper that's there, which is not my favorite thing. Like I said, I'd prefer to have glued it to the box or to the that foam core, but that, since I wanted to wrap it, that's not possible. Unfortunately, it's just some thin paper. So, yeah. And with that, I'm not done. I've got a few more things I'm going to do. I'm acting like I threw on the frame and then I'm done. That's not what's going to happen. I do use the E6000. Do I use the E6000? I'm thinking about it because I'm gluing. Typically with a wood box, I would use the wood glue. But because I'm using a resin piece, that's not possible. It's not possible. It may not be the best adhesive. I feel like the E6000 works a whole lot better with like a plasticized thing than the wood glue would. So I use the E6000, put it directly onto my frame, and then I'm putting my frame down exactly how I want it. I'm going to leave it for a little bit. I think I'm going to put a weight on it to let it sit. Yeah, and then I'm going to come back, and the back of that frame is still like partly gesso and partly, yeah. So I was not digging that. I felt like it felt unfinished. I'm very big, especially even with my jewelry, that even the back of things need to look nice. I've been told that's overkill because nobody will ever see the back of them, but I don't know. There was something about this that I wanted the back to be nice too. So I'm going to go ahead and put the black gesso on it, and then I will come back in with the gold paint once the black gesso is dry. And I'm not accenting or anything, I'm just painting these pieces. And you'll see here when we get a little bit further on, there's just a few more minutes of this. So I'm going to paint this gold, but then I will flip it over and take a toothpick and pick out any of the gesso and paint that kind of went through the holes that are in like the head of the key. So yeah, the holes and all that are in there. I don't want the front to be messed up because I'm so busy focused on the back. Oh gosh, y'all, that's but I'm glad that I didn't paint that back of it, so that when I glued that down, again, that was the actual resin surface to the box and not a painted surface to the box. Anyway, so that's about all that's going to happen here. If you have any questions about this process or anything, let me know. I've got a whole bunch of pictures for y'all to look at of this in case any of it wasn't clear, you didn't get a good look in the video. So I hope you enjoyed this. I should have another iCAD video coming up next and all kinds of stuff. And if you haven't seen something from me that you would like to see, please give me a shout. Let me know what it is you have made it over here to watch. I would love to make you happy. Yes, indeed. All right, guys, I will, you'll see me later. I don't know if I'll see you, but I really appreciate you watching. Thank you for your time, and go get crafty. Bye.